The last transmission, before everything went quiet. The message was short, routine, almost forgettable. And then the line went silent. There was no warning, no build-up. One moment, communication flowed normally. The next, it was gone. The transition from connection to silence happens without ceremony. A signal that was present is simply no longer present. There is no gradual dimming, no stuttering fade, just the presence of a voice, and then the absence of one. In an environment that depends entirely on communication, that absence lands with disproportionate weight. To understand why this moment still matters today, we need to understand how fragile connection becomes at the edge of exploration. Spaceflight depends on voices, signals, confirmations. When those vanish, uncertainty takes over. Every action in space is verified. Every system state is reported. The continuous exchange of data between spacecraft and ground control is not simply informational. It is structural. It defines the shape of the mission. Communication is the medium through which certainty travels. Without it, certainty has nowhere to go. The astronaut sent the transmission calmly. Status update. System check. Everything nominal. Nothing suggested this would be the last clear exchange. That is the particular quality of the ordinary that makes this moment significant. There was nothing notable about the transmission. It was one of hundreds sent during the mission. Its only distinction would come in retrospect. This was the last one that received a clear answer. Then came static. Ground control waited, repeated the call, adjusted frequency. Nothing came back. The process of troubleshooting a communication failure from the ground involves running through a sequence of alternatives, each representing a different diagnosis. Try a different frequency. Verify the antenna alignment. Check for signal interference from the spacecraft's position relative to known sources of disruption. Each attempt is a question. Each silence is an answer that confirms nothing except that the previous question did not solve the problem. Inside the spacecraft, the astronaut listened, aware that silence had replaced certainty. In space, silence is never neutral. It means something has changed. The silence stretched longer than protocol allowed. Backup channels were opened, alternate frequencies tested. Each attempt returned the same result: nothing. The escalation through backup systems is itself a form of information. Each failed channel narrows the range of possible explanations. It rules out the simple causes first. When the simple causes have been eliminated, what remains is more difficult to characterize and harder to resolve. The astronaut followed procedure precisely. No panic, no wasted motion. Systems were checked, power levels verified. Communication hardware appeared intact. Training for communication failures includes a specific psychological component, the instruction not to assume the worst before the evidence demands it. Systems can fail for recoverable reasons. Atmospheric conditions, signal interference, software states that can be cleared. The astronaut held that knowledge carefully, using it to maintain operational clarity in the absence of external confirmation. That was the problem. If nothing was broken, then the unknown grew larger. The most unsettling technical situations are not the ones where something is clearly failing. They are the ones where everything appears correct and the problem persists anyway. A broken component has a diagnosis and often a repair procedure. A silence with no identified cause has neither. It sits at the edge of the known. From inside the spacecraft, the absence of response felt heavy. Not frightening yet, but disorienting. A reminder that connection is a fragile thread stretched across vast distance. Time moved strangely. Without feedback, every second demanded interpretation. Was this delay temporary? Was it growing? Was it safe to wait? The absence of information does not produce an absence of experience. It produces the opposite, an excess of interpretation. The mind, denied external input, generates its own. It creates scenarios, estimates probabilities, runs possibilities. That process is useful when it leads to preparation. It becomes costly when it loops without resolution. The astronaut prepared for autonomy. Mission plans were reviewed. Contingencies surfaced from memory. Decisions would have to be made without confirmation. This preparation is not improvisation. It draws on training specifically designed for this eventuality. Astronauts prepare for the possibility of extended communication loss not just as a technical scenario, but as a psychological one. The ability to make consequential decisions without external validation requires a specific kind of confidence that is built deliberately and maintained over time. This was the edge of exploration, the point where support becomes distant and responsibility concentrates inward. Silence didn't mean failure, but it meant you were alone with your judgment, and that changed everything. As minutes turned into longer stretches, the astronaut settled into deliberate focus. Without communication, clarity became essential. Every action had to be justified, every decision carefully measured. Deliberateness under uncertainty is a specific and trainable skill. It is not the same as slowness. It is the quality of attention that ensures no action is taken reflexively, that each decision is preceded by at least a moment of conscious evaluation. In a complex vehicle operating in a complex environment, that quality of attention can be the difference between compounding a problem and containing it. The spacecraft felt smaller, not physically, but psychologically. Responsibility had narrowed to a single perspective. There was no room for second-guessing, only process, only discipline. Trust and training became the anchor. When external anchors disappear, internal ones must hold. Training is designed to become internal. The procedures, the decision trees, the contingency protocols are drilled until they can be executed without external reference. This is the moment those drills were designed to produce. A person alone in a complex machine, making correct decisions without anyone watching or confirming. The astronaut considered the implications: orbital timing, power conservation, system priorities. Without updates from Earth, autonomy was no longer theoretical. This was the moment astronauts trained for but hope never arrives. When silence demands leadership without reassurance. Leadership without reassurance is one of the most demanding forms of leadership. It requires making decisions that cannot be confirmed correct until later, if at all. It requires trusting preparation when preparation is the only available basis for trust. It requires maintaining composure not because the situation is safe, but because composure is the most useful state available. Eventually, a signal flickered back. Faint. Delayed. Confirmation arrived that the disruption was temporary. Communication would resume fully. Relief came, but it was controlled. Because the silence had already done its work. It had shown how quickly certainty disappears at the edge of human reach. That demonstration is its own form of preparation. The astronaut had moved through a scenario that had previously existed only as a training exercise and had arrived on the other side intact. The skill had been tested. The outcome confirmed something that could not have been fully confirmed any other way. When communication fully returned, the mission continued without incident. Reports were filed, causes identified, redundancies adjusted. On paper, nothing significant had happened. In reality, everything had. The astronaut carried the memory of that silence long after the mission ended. Not as fear, but as understanding. Exploration means accepting moments where support fades and judgment stands alone. The memory of that silence became a kind of resource. It had shown the astronaut what they were capable of when the external scaffolding was removed. That knowledge does not disappear when the scaffolding is restored. As humanity prepares to travel farther, Delays will grow. Minutes will become hours. Hours will become days. Silence will be normal. The journey to distant destinations will require crews capable of sustained autonomy over periods that exceed anything yet experienced. The preparation for those journeys must include psychological preparation for extended periods without confirmation or support. The silence that arrived unexpectedly on this mission will arrive intentionally on future ones. This story matters because it reveals the future of exploration. Not dramatic failure, but quiet autonomy. The missions that will extend humanity's reach will be defined not by the noise of crisis management, but by the quieter work of independent judgment, sustained over long periods, in conditions where the nearest response is days away. And it mirrors something closer to home. Moments when guidance disappears. When decisions must be made without certainty. When no one is available to confirm that the choice being made is the right one. The astronaut's silence in orbit is a more extreme version of a situation most people navigate regularly. The last transmission before silence reminds us of something essential. Progress requires trust and preparation. And courage often begins in quiet moments when no one is answering back. Subscribe to join the journey.